Located at the end of the Earth, Antarctica appears as a vast, suffocatingly cold continent where life seems to have to give way to the eternal silence of ice and snow. But hidden deep under that white cloak is a world full of undiscovered scientific mysteries. Have you ever thought that, right below those kilometers of cold ice, there are unbelievable wonders? Let's uncover the secrets of this icy continent. Discover 5 surprising discoveries that scientists were amazed by when they set foot in Antarctica. Beneath the seemingly endless white blanket of Antarctica, where sunlight rarely penetrates and temperatures can reach some of the harshest on the planet, lies a world of contrast, a network of hydrospheres hidden beneath kilometers of ice. These are the hundreds of lakes of liquid water, secret oases locked in eternal darkness, whose deepest mysteries scientists are only just beginning to unravel. The discovery of lakes of liquid water under the Antarctic ice has shaken our previous understanding of the continent. Rather than a simple, static mass of ice, Antarctica turns out to be a complex hydrological system, with underground streams and giant lakes isolated for millions of years. These subglacial lakes are more than just bodies of still water. They are potential ecosystems, time capsules that hold secrets about the geological and biological history of our planet. Among the myriad of known liquid lakes, Lake Vastto stands out as a gem, a prime research target for scientists around the world. Located some 3,700 meters below the ice surface of Vastto Station, a Russian research station near the geomagnetic pole, Lake Vastto is not only the largest known subglacial liquid lake in Antarctica, but also one of the largest freshwater lakes on Earth by volume. To put the enormity of Lake Vastto into perspective, we can compare it to a familiar surface lake. At about 250 kilometers long and up to 50 kilometers wide, Lake Vastto has a surface area of approximately 12,500 square kilometers, which is comparable to Lake Ontario, one of the 5 Great Lakes of North America. The estimated volume of Lake Vastto is around 5,400 cubic kilometers, a huge number enough to fill the entire Baltic Sea. The depth of Lake Vastto is also an amazing factor. Although the average depth is only about 400 meters, in the deepest areas, the bottom of the lake can go down to more than 800 meters. This creates a huge column of water, which is under tremendous pressure from kilometers of ice pressing down on top. The environment inside Lake Vastto is completely different from the surface world we are familiar with. Sunlight cannot penetrate such a thick layer of ice, leaving Lake Vastto in eternal darkness. The average water temperature is estimated to be about -3 degrees Celsius, below the freezing point of water at normal atmospheric pressure. However, surprisingly, the water in the lake remains in a liquid state. The reason why the water in Lake Vastto does not freeze is due to 2 main factors: immense pressure and geothermal heat. The pressure from kilometers of ice pressing down on the surface of the lake lowers the freezing point of the water. At the same time, heat radiated from the Earth's interior below also contributes to maintaining temperatures above freezing at this high pressure. The delicate balance of pressure and geothermal heat has created a stable liquid environment for millions of years. In the eternal darkness of Lake Vastto, photosynthesis cannot occur. This raises an intriguing question. Can life exist in such an extreme environment? If so, what energy sources do they rely on to sustain their existence? Scientists suspect that unique ecosystems may exist in Lake Vastto that rely on chemical processes to create energy, a phenomenon known as chemosynthesis. Microorganisms may obtain energy from chemical reactions between the lake water and dissolved minerals from the rocks below. Potential energy sources include the oxidation of methane, hydrogen sulfide, and other inorganic compounds. Studying water and sediment samples from Lake Vastto could reveal entirely new forms of life, previously unknown on Earth. These organisms may have unique biological mechanisms to adapt to the extreme high pressures, low temperatures, and total absence of light. Studying life in Lake Vastto is not only important for expanding our understanding of the limits of life on this planet, but could also provide important clues about the possibility of life on other planets with similar conditions, such as the liquid oceans thought to exist under the ice of icy moons like Jupiter's Europa and Saturn's Enceladus. While the initial discoveries about Lake Vastto have been impressive, Many questions remain unanswered. Scientists are still working to understand the origin of the lake's water, the age of this isolated ecosystem, the geochemical processes occurring in the lake, and the connection between Lake Vostok and other subglacial lakes in Antarctica. Future research efforts will focus on collecting more high-quality water and sediment samples from different areas of the lake, developing advanced sensor technologies to continuously monitor environmental conditions in the lake, and conducting laboratory experiments to simulate the harsh conditions of Lake Vostok and study the adaptive abilities of the microorganisms that have been discovered. Lake Vostok is not only a geological wonder, but also a unique natural laboratory, opening new doors to our understanding of life on Earth and the potential for life in seemingly unlikely places. Exploring the mysteries hidden deep beneath the Antarctic permafrost, starting with magical liquid lakes like Vostok, is a promising scientific journey that promises to yield groundbreaking discoveries and change the way we view our planet and the universe at large. Over the course of geologic time, the Earth has been constantly moving and changing. The continents we see today are not fixed, unchanging landmasses, but rather giant pieces that drift on the molten mantle below. Hundreds of millions of years ago, these continents once coalesced into great supercontinents, huge landmasses that covered much of the planet's surface. One of the most important and influential supercontinents, Gondwana, was an ancient supercontinent that formed in the late Neoproterozoic period, about 550 million years ago, and began to break up in the Jurassic period, about 180 million years ago. At its peak, Gondwana included most of the landmasses we know today: Antarctica, South America, Africa, Madagascar, India, Australia, New Guinea, and New Zealand. This supercontinent occupies much of the southern hemisphere and stretches from the southern poles up to near the equator, creating an incredible diversity of environments and climates across its vast territory. The idea that an ancient supercontinent like Gondwana existed was not a random discovery, but the result of decades of careful research in many different scientific fields. From geology to paleontology and paleoclimatology, scientists have gradually accumulated strong evidence that the present-day continents were once pieces of a single giant puzzle. To the development of life on Earth was Gondwana. Of the present-day continents, Antarctica plays a particularly important role in providing evidence of the existence and structure of Gondwana. Although it is now a harsh, icy land, scientific discoveries have revealed that Antarctica was not always covered in ice. Millions of years ago, when it was part of Gondwana, Antarctica had a much warmer climate, with dense forests and a rich flora and fauna. One of the first and strongest pieces of geological evidence for the connection of the continents within Gondwana is the coincidence of coastline shapes. If we look at a map of the world, we can see a surprising fit between the east coast of South America and the west coast of Africa. Similarly, the west coasts of India and Madagascar seem to fit the east coast of Africa, and the southern coast of Australia has similar curves to the east coast of India. This coincidence cannot be a coincidence, but is a sign that these continents were once connected. In addition to the coincidence of shapes, geologists have also found similarities in geological structures and tectonic zones between the continents that were once part of Gondwana. Ancient mountain ranges, distinctive igneous rocks, and geological faults seem to continue when we piece together the continents. For example, the Cape Mountains in South Africa are geologically similar to the Sierra de la Ventana Mountains in Argentina, suggesting that they were once a continuous mountain system within Gondwana. However, the most compelling evidence for the existence of Gondwana comes from the field of paleontology, the study of fossils of ancient organisms. Scientists have discovered fossils of the same plants and animals on continents that are now thousands of kilometers apart. Continents that would have been impossible for these species to have migrated naturally across vast oceans. One classic example is the fossil of Glossopteris, a genus of fern-like gymnosperms that flourished in Gondwana during the Permian period, about 300 to 250 million years ago. Fossils of Glossopteris have been found in Antarctica, South America, Africa, India, and Australia, suggesting that these landmasses were once connected and shared a common flora. Similarly, fossils of land animals, such as Lestrosaurus, a mammal-like reptile that lived during the early Triassic period, about 250 million years ago, have also been found in Antarctica, South Africa, and India. The wide distribution of these creatures across the continents today can only be explained by the fact that they once lived on a single landmass, Gondwana. Furthermore, fossils of freshwater reptiles such as Mesosaurus, which lived during the late Permian period, have been found in South America and South Africa, and fossils of Cynognethus, a dog-toothed reptile that lived during the early Triassic period, have also been found in South America and Africa. These animals were incapable of crossing vast oceans, further strengthening evidence of past continental connectivity. In the vast panorama of Antarctica, covered in ice and snow, stretching endlessly under a gray sky, there exists a strange contrast, a fascinating geographical paradox. That is the presence of the so-called dry valleys, barren lands, without any ice or snow cover, nestled in the middle of the most inhospitable continent on the planet. The existence of these dry valleys not only challenges the familiar image of Antarctica, but also opens up unique doors for scientific research, from understanding the limits of life on Earth to simulating the harsh environments of other planets. The dry valleys are a collection of major ice-free valleys located west of the Transantarctic Mountains, spanning an area of about 4,800 square kilometers. The largest valleys include Victoria Valley, Wright Valley, and Taylor Valley, along with many smaller valleys and intracontinental basins. Strangely, while much of Antarctica is covered in kilometers of ice, these valleys are bare of rock, gravel, and permafrost, with almost no surface ice. This contrast raises a natural question. How can these regions survive in an icy environment like Antarctica? The answer lies in a unique and powerful meteorological phenomenon called katabatic winds. Katabatic winds are winds formed by differences in air density caused by temperature changes with altitude. In Antarctica, the vast central plateau has extremely low temperatures due to the strong radiation of heat into space. The cold, dense air above the plateau becomes heavier than the warmer air in the coastal regions and lower valleys. Due to gravity, this cold air is sucked downhill, creating powerful winds that blow from the central plateau towards the sea. As these katabatic winds blow through the dry valleys, they carry extremely cold, dry air. Wind speeds can reach hundreds of kilometers per hour, creating a natural, drier effect. Any snow that falls into these valleys is quickly carried away by the wind or sublimated, changed directly from a solid to a gas due to the extremely low humidity of the air. The topography of the valleys, with their surrounding high mountain ranges, also acts as wind corridors, concentrating and intensifying the power of the katabatic winds. Over millions of years, the powerful erosive effects of the katabatic winds, combined with periodic, though very limited, freezing and thawing, have worn away the rock surfaces, creating the characteristic barren landscapes of the dry valleys. The permafrost beneath the surface prevents significant water infiltration and vegetation growth, further enhancing the arid appearance of the area. The unique existence of the dry valleys has made them an invaluable natural laboratory for many different fields of science. Despite their barren appearance, the dry valleys support some remarkable forms of microbial life. Scientists have discovered bacteria, archaea, fungi, and even some tiny invertebrates, such as nematodes and mites, living in permafrost, in rock fissures, and in thin layers of ice formed by seasonal melting of snow or ice. Studying these organisms helps us better understand the biological mechanisms that allow life to survive in extremely harsh conditions, with low temperatures, high UV radiation, low humidity, and nutrient deficiencies. These insights are important in expanding our knowledge of the limits of life on Earth and the potential for life to exist in similarly extreme environments on other planets. The dry valleys are considered to be one of the closest terrestrial environments to the surface of Mars. Both are cold, arid regions, subject to intense UV radiation and oxidized soils. The geological landscape of the dry valleys, with its wind and ice-sculpted landforms, also bears many similarities to features observed on Mars. Because of this similarity, the dry valleys have become an important site for testing technologies and equipment designed for Mars exploration missions, including rovers, drilling, and soil rock analysis equipment. Scientists also use the dry valleys to study possible geological and chemical processes on Mars, as well as to search for signs of ancient or present life. In stark contrast to the desolate, harsh, and seemingly barren landscape of the icy continent, the seas surrounding Antarctica are a vibrant world teeming with life and possessing an incredibly rich and diverse marine ecosystem. Here, beneath the seemingly harsh cold waters, there exists a complex network of organisms, from tiny microorganisms to giant animals, all of which have developed incredible adaptations to survive in this harsh but nutrient-rich environment. The contrast between the icy continent and the rich seas surrounding Antarctica is one of the region's most striking features. While temperatures on land can drop as low as -80 degrees Celsius, and much of the area is covered in permanent ice, the Southern Ocean maintains a relatively stable temperature, hovering around the freezing point of seawater around 2 degrees Celsius. This difference, combined with unique oceanographic factors, has created a unique habitat that supports a rich and diverse marine life population. One of the most important factors contributing to the richness of the Antarctic Ocean is the phenomenon of upwelling. Deep, nutrient-rich ocean currents from the ocean floor are pushed to the surface near the Antarctic coast by the action of winds and seafloor topography. This abundance of nutrients, including nitrates, phosphates, and silicates, creates ideal conditions for the flourishing of phytoplankton, photosynthetic microalgae that float freely in the ocean. Phytoplankton are the foundation of the food chain in the Southern Ocean, serving as a primary food source for countless other marine species. Among Antarctic marine species, the Antarctic krill, Euphausia superba, plays a pivotal role, serving as a central link between primary producers, phytoplankton, and higher-order consumers. Krill are small crustaceans, measuring about 3 to 6 centimeters in size, that live in extremely dense colonies in the Southern Ocean. The estimated biomass of Antarctic krill can reach hundreds of millions of tons, making them one of the largest animals on the planet. Krill are a major food source for a variety of important Antarctic marine species, including blue whales, humpback whales, Weddell seals, crabeator seals, penguins, seabirds, and many fish species. The abundance of krill is a key factor in maintaining the abundance of these animal populations. Any decline in krill populations could have serious knock-on effects for the entire Antarctic marine ecosystem. The extremely low temperatures of Antarctic waters have prompted marine organisms to develop unique adaptations to survive and thrive. Many Antarctic fish, particularly members of the notothenioids group, have evolved antifreeze proteins in their blood and other body fluids. These proteins bind to small ice crystals, preventing them from growing larger and causing cell damage. This allows fish to function normally at temperatures below the freezing point of freshwater. The phenomenon of polar gigantism has been observed in some Antarctic invertebrates, such as starfish, marine worms, and isopods. Large size may reduce the surface area to volume ratio, which helps to minimize heat loss. Some Antarctic fish species in the family Channicthiidae, white-blooded fish, have lost the red blood cells and hemoglobin in their blood. Their blood is transparent, and they absorb oxygen directly from the water through their skin and gills. Although this mechanism is still being studied, it is thought to be an adaptation to the cold temperatures and low viscosity of their blood at those temperatures. Antarctic mammals such as seals and whales have a dense layer of subcutaneous fat that acts as an effective insulation, helping them maintain a stable body temperature in cold water. Some animals, such as humpback whales, make seasonal migrations to warmer waters at lower latitudes to breed, then return to Antarctic waters in the summer to feed. The waters surrounding Antarctica are more than just cold water. They are a vibrant world, a testament to the remarkable ability of life to adapt to the harshest conditions. The preservation of the richness and biodiversity of this ecosystem is a shared responsibility of all humanity, because its health is of great significance to the balance of the entire planet. Located at the southernmost tip of the Earth, Antarctica is not only a vast icy continent, but also a giant reservoir of frozen fresh water, holding an important key to the stability of global sea levels. The thick ice covering this continent and the vast ice shelves that extend into the sea are an essential component of the Earth's climate system. However, under the increasing impact of climate change caused by human activities, the Antarctic ice sheet is melting at an alarming rate, posing serious challenges to coastal communities and ecosystems around the world. The amount of ice in Antarctica is extremely large, accounting for about 90% of the total fresh ice in the world. If all of Antarctica's ice melted completely, global sea levels could rise by nearly 60 meters, enough to submerge many coastal cities and island nations around the world. Although this complete meltdown scenario could take thousands of years to occur, the current rate of ice loss is accelerating, raising serious concerns about the future. Antarctic ice exists in several different forms. Continental ice sheet. This is the largest mass of ice, covering almost the entire continent of Antarctica. It has an average thickness of about 2 kilometers, but can be as thick as 5 kilometers in some areas. The continental ice sheet is divided into two main parts. The East Antarctic ice sheet, which is considered more stable and contains the majority of the ice, and the West Antarctic ice sheet, which is considered more vulnerable because it sits on bedrock that is lower than sea level and is more exposed to warmer ocean waters. Ice shelves. These are large, floating ice sheets that extend from the continental coast into the ocean. Ice shelves are formed by the flow of continental ice into the ocean. They act as natural bottlenecks, slowing the flow of continental ice into the ocean. Major ice shelves in Antarctica include the Ross Ice Shelf, the Filchner-Ronne Ice Shelf, and the Larsen Ice Shelf. Icebergs. These are large chunks of ice that break off from continental ice or ice shelves and float on the ocean. Icebergs can be very large and can last for many years before melting completely. In recent decades, scientists have gathered increasing evidence that the rate of ice loss in Antarctica is accelerating due to climate change. Various research methods, including satellite observations, direct measurements on the ice surface, and climate modeling, all show a clear trend. Antarctica is losing ice at an increasingly rapid rate. The melting of the Antarctic ice sheet, along with the melting of the Greenland ice sheet, and the thermal expansion of ocean water due to rising temperatures, is contributing to global sea level rise. Sea level rise can have serious and widespread impacts on coastal communities and ecosystems around the world. Sea level rise increases the risk of flooding in low-lying coastal areas, especially during storm surges and storms. This can cause extensive property damage infrastructure, and displace millions of people. Small island states in the Pacific and Indian Oceans are particularly vulnerable. Sea level rise can push saltwater further inland, contaminating freshwater and agricultural land. This can cause serious problems for food security and clean water supplies for coastal communities. Sea level rise accelerates coastal erosion, threatening settlements, infrastructure, and coastal ecosystems, such as mangroves and floodplains. Coastal wetlands, such as marshes and mangroves, play a vital role in protecting coastlines from storms and flooding, and are home to many species. Rising sea levels can submerge and destroy these vital ecosystems. Changes in sea levels and sea temperatures can have negative impacts on marine ecosystems, affecting the distribution, reproduction, and survival of many marine species, including economically important species. Rising sea levels can cause mass migration of people from affected coastal areas, leading to complex social, economic, and humanitarian problems. Antarctica, the icy giant at the southern tip, is sending a clear warning message about the consequences of climate change. The continent's accelerating ice melt rate is a worrying sign for the future of global sea levels. Only through relentless research and decisive global action can we mitigate the worst impacts and protect coastal communities and ecosystems around the world from the relentless rise of the ocean. Time is running out, and delay will be costly. You want to learn something new every day? This channel is for you. Subscribe to get the latest tutorials and lessons.